Hi, this is Dr. John Grazel, and this video is one of three videos to assist you in possibly orienting yourself to getting what you need out of the materials. This video is about what does it take to get actually involved in international development? Traditionally, there are lots of ways that you can get involved. It's just begins by giving some money. You can volunteer, or you can actually become part of an activity, a government or private sector, or an NGO. But even then, one of the things you have to decide is: do you want to just have a transaction, or do you want to have a real relationship? And of course, you'll see in the lessons of this book, there's a big difference between those two. You also should make clear in your own mind, do you want a short, medium, or long-term involvement? And there's a big difference there in what's expected and what you have to provide. A short-term involvement can be a transaction and can be one of appreciation and facilitation. A long-term involvement requires real integration with the other party. In either case, the key formula that we've learned from international development is probably one of the best things you can use to see, is this particular activity organization the one I want to work with? And that's basically saying, look, do they do things in a systematic, cooperative way that is concerned with sustainability and equity? And if they don't, you may not want to get involved with them. If you do decide you want to get involved with them, there's the other side of the coin. Realize that every world is fragile, every person is fragile, and the circumstances and context of international development are extremely challenging and complex. And therefore, don't expect perfection from anyone, and don't think that you're going to be perfect in what you give. And so have your expectations realistic as to what you're going to achieve with the type of involvement you are actually willing to give and which they seem to be able to accept. This collection and corpus of reflection on international development advocates in terms of transforming ourselves from classic international development to a system of mutual aid. Under a system of mutual aid, the type of involvement that one has to have is much more intense and much longer term and much more integrated. It is a case of each party helping each other, learning together, and transforming themselves as well as the other. Now, what are the capacities one has to develop to get involved in a mutual aid framework? Well, first of all, you've got to center yourself. You do have to center yourself. You have to center yourself in terms of your own basic spiritual or moral or ethical principles to know what you want. You have to center yourself intellectually about how you understand things, and hopefully the information we provide helps you with that. And you have to center yourself emotionally in terms of how you're going to actually react when you're faced with the fact that international development is such an open, complex, and dynamic field. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to have to make sure you then clarify what you understand are your capacities and how those capacities fit in a clear context. Involvement involves getting yourself into a particular clear context. Once you're in that context, that is precisely when you can begin to apply your capacities with another in order to form a relationship of mutual aid. The difference here is, though, that you go beyond connecting and even beyond sharing to actually serving. You are driven by the desire to serve, and in this case, to serve each other. And that's really very important because it means up front, early on, the collaborating parties do have to make clear who is serving whom for which and what purpose. There's not just one, there's usually many. But clarification will avoid many misunderstandings down the line. The failure to do that actually creates lost opportunities. So, for instance, the fact that we are still in such a transfer technology, give others mode in things like education means that we aren't even learning from places where we recognize the education systems are better. The United States could learn right now from Finland, from Singapore, from even particular activities in a place like India, techniques, approaches that actually are superior to those in the United States. That would happen in a mutual aid environment if people understood that we were actually engaged in that. What allows that to happen beyond the clarifications and desires and expressions? It's the commonality of principles. If you don't make clear on what fundamental foundational principles do you base your involvement, your desire, your aspirations, and if you don't make certain that they're harmonious, they don't have to be the same, that they're harmonious, they're going to have trouble maintaining themselves over a long-time relationship, which inherently has good and bad moments. So you've got to get yourself prepared for that type of involvement and clarify for yourself those issues. But now comes the other factor. You have to help others become involved. You have to actually proactively create a situation where others can connect to you easily. We talked about principles, and Immanuel Kant believed that the most important principle was that of hospitality to global peace and cooperation. These are the other things you have to do. The first thing you have to do is that recognize that everybody actually does have something to contribute. And the best way of recognizing that is doing everything possible to learn from the other before you try to teach the other. See what they know. And today it's not just about different cultures and different people and different knowledge domains, it's intergenerational. Younger generations understand technologies the way older generations don't, and vice versa. Older generations have things in their mind that younger generations don't even know ever existed or happened. So you've got to begin by learning from the other, and that will create an invitation for their involvement. Then make sure that the other includes what very often is the marginal. We very often go to the center. You go to the top person, the top power, the top expert, but very often true motivation and even capacity is on the margin. When you bypass very often the bureaucratic structure and get down to the people themselves and become absolutely amazed at how much they know, and how much they know not only about their own environment, but how much they know about things that you think they don't know. Why is it so important that you create this mutual environment of both preparing yourself and inviting the other? Because it's based upon this that you create a process that can grow, that others can constantly come in and join. Because the basis of mutual aid also is, to some extent, especially in an interdependent world, to expand the group of mutual aid and the realm of mutual aid. Now, you can't have everybody in the world working together with everybody at every time on everything. But connectivities to things that have the same basic motivations, principles, desires, aspirations as you do form the connectivities that over time create larger and larger structures that, as necessary, can be easily accessed, are in harmony with each other, and when necessary, can reconfigure themselves for mutual aid. When you read this material, part of it is to build the capacities so that you are able to get involved, and part of them is to build the understanding of how you have to create conditions that recognize the importance of the involvement of the others and actually create conditions conducive to their involvement.